growing up in my house, it was a little bit like I Love Lucy. My dad's from Mexico City and my mom's Caucasian from San Diego.
Okay.
So, there was a lot of like, my mom's name is Cheryl, and my dad's name is Luis.
Yeah.
So my dad would always be like, ay, Cheryl, ¿qué estás haciendo, Cheryl? But why, Cheryl, And my mom would go, oh, you got to say it right. Yeah, so there was this like culture clash, but like a hilarious dynamic to it at the same time, and they were 20 years apart.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the AV Lyric Lounge. I've got Adrian Cisneros, a.k.a.
Yeah, a.k.a.
A.k.a. Adrian is a musician, a producer, music producer, a video producer. He's a jack of all trades and very talented in all these, talented at the arts.
Thanks, Andy.
And a vocalist as well.
Yeah, I try to be, man.
Oh, man. Nah, man. Your vocals are killing, man. Your vocals are killing.
Thank you.
And your songwriting is amazing. I'm not just saying this about you, bro.
Yeah.
Like, there's a reason we work together.
Yeah. No, man, I appreciate it. Honestly, my whole life I've been working to get to places like this and work with people like you, man. So I'm happy to be here, brother.
Well, thanks for
another
coming.
day we're alive.
Another day, another opportunity, bro.
Yeah.
Another morning to wake up. I was really excited
sir.
waking up this morning knowing that we were going to get together because I love hanging with you.
Yeah.
I always feel like I enhance my artistry,
That's
hanging
good.
with you. And that's what we need to do, man. That's what, people like thrive to be, because how many people go to like wake up and they're like, I got to go to work.
I was thinking about this saying the other day. Behind every good man is an even better woman, right? But behind every artist is an even better musician, or producer, or engineer, So, we're all helping each other. And if I'm honored to hear you say that, because if I make you better, that's what we're here for.
Thank you, brother.
Yeah, and you make me better. You give me better content to engineer and, better songs to mix and
trying every day, bro. Trying
to shoot,
Yeah, bro. Well, so everybody, Adrian and I work on many projects together. We met through Frankie J and the song that we wrote together, me, you, and Frankie. We're still here together. Great song. Shouts out to Frankie J, our brother. And then, we, continue to keep in touch, collaborated on other music. And then eventually, when we started Palabras Records, with George Lopez, we had an opportunity to collaborate in there on all the projects for Palabras and in many different ways, many different things that you do, right?
Yeah.
So we're going to talk about a lot of stuff here, and you guys, everybody, get ready for what you're going to hear. But I want to hear right now, I want to go back a little bit right now, because I know that your dad was a musician. Like, I want to, like, all of the ancestors, that helped make AK Adrian Cisneros. Talk to me a little bit about like your family, like those people that made you your DNA.
Yeah.
What it is.
So growing up, and I've said this before to my friends and my family, but like growing up in my house, it was a little bit like I Love Lucy. My dad's from Mexico City and my mom's Caucasian from San Diego.
Okay.
So, there was a lot of like, my mom's name is Cheryl and my dad's name is Luis.
Yeah.
So my dad would always be like, ay, Cheryl, ¿qué estás haciendo, Cheryl? But why, Cheryl, And my mom would go, oh, God damn it, Luis,
Cheryl.
Damn it, Luis. You got to say it right. Yeah, so there was this like culture clash, but like a hilarious dynamic to it at the same time, and they were 20 years apart. So
20 years apart.
20 years apart.
Yeah,
my mom was
your dad older?
Yeah.
Okay.
My mom's 18 and my dad was 38. But my dad had this baby face, so he was pulling it off.
Yeah.
But yeah, he was an actor. Well, he was an artist first in Mexico City in the 60s. I believe they started practicing in 1959. It was him and my tío. and they were like all guitar players, and they're like, we got to do something different. So my dad was like, I'll play the drums, you know? So he jumps on, they find one of the rich kids in the neighborhood, and they kind of consider him the drummer. But like when he gets tired, my dad jumps on and like starts practicing, you know, and kind of picking up some things from that guy, from the stories I heard. And then there was a contest. I can't remember all of the names of the bands exactly, but there was one band that pulled out and asked my tío or my dad, like, hey, can you guys fill in for us at this big festival? And they're like, dude, we need to have a 60-minute, you know, set. So they just did some covers and stuff like that, and they ended up like getting some recognition. And then there was this contest, and I can't remember if it was CBS Records at the time, but like CBS turned into Columbia turned into what is Sony Latino today, I believe. Or maybe I could have that wrong, but it's something like that.
Yeah.
So they had this contest, and they won. And then CBS, I hope it's CBS.
But I remember CBS being, you know, a big Latino record label, yeah.
So basically, they chose 4 bands out of Mexico City to kind of like spearhead Latino music.
Oh, yeah.
And do a bunch of pop songs. And it was Los Hooligans, which was my dad and my tío's band. Los Teen Tops, Los Rebeldes de Rock. And I can't remember the 4th one, but...
Los Teen Tops?
Los Teen Tops.
Teen Tops. Okay. Cool.
But yeah, it was the 60s. My dad wrote a song called Agujetas de Color de Rosa. And that thing has been around still to this day. They have a novella called it. They did that thing went platinum, like as a single. They were like big in Poland, you know.
Wow.
Big in South America.
Wow. Did your dad see royalties from that still?
Yeah.
Oh, amazing.
On his birthday, this last birthday.
That's right. You mentioned something about that. Like that he got like a check, and he's like,
oh yeah, son, thank you for the birthday check. And I was like, what are you talking about? And he goes, no, I'm just kidding. I got some royalties today. And I guess it was like $6,000.
Dude.
Now, this is from the 60s, you know?
Dude.
So he's 85 now, you know, but he's he's still getting residuals. And,
bless his heart, man.
And I think a song Despeinada was on this Apple TV show called Acapulco. Recently, I was watching it because I lived in Acapulco for a year in the 90s. My mom and dad kind of going through a rough time, and my mom, we were living in San Diego. My dad was doing a lot of business in Acapulco still, and he was just like, why don't you guys just come down and live down here, you know? So we went and lived down there, and it was crazy. But, you know, back to my dad, yeah, he had a lot of songs, Despeinada, Acapulco Rock, Aguas de Color de Rosa, Al Final. They had a lot of songs that just blew up.
That's great, and he's got all the, you know, the business stuff down, and you know,
he had somebody good behind him.
Oh, good.
He told me that like when he came in, one of the guys was like, "Hey, I'll fill out the paperwork for you."
Yeah,
you know, and he had his back.
Dude, that's heavy.
Yeah, there was a lot of other stuff he didn't get paid for, but there was a couple key songs that really. They made sure to credit him.
You know, my dad has a lot of albums too. I've got to go back and like kind of jump in.
Yeah.
Find out what happened.
Yeah.
You know, because there's...
Well, and then I got to get to the bottom of like, I don't know if you can transfer royalties to your children. I don't know how that works, but I would love to get to the bottom of that because if they're going to continue using his music, and my dad's 85, you know, I kind of got to get things.
Yeah, so we've got to find out, you know, if it's you know, who the performance rights agency is.
Yeah.
And you know, because you know SAG-AFTRA also you know collects for television and stuff like that. So each different organization has a beneficiary.
Got it.
So in the event of you know a passing, then it gets directed to the beneficiary and the percentages that you designate. So right now is a great time to get that like squared away with him,
or do some like re-record some stuff too.
And so I would think that just as far as like, you know, ownership, just to find out who the ownership is, because at the end of the day, you know, as when family passes on, right, it's things are left to. First, it just takes a long time, because then it gets left after. Then they have to go through their whole ordeal, and then for you to come in as a child of, then you have to get everything transferred over.
Gotcha.
You know, but if you already are in there and inundated as in the event of a passing, you know, I did that with my family. My kids. So like, you know,
cool.
I already signed it. You could do it from the websites too.
Okay.
You just go in there from the websites.
Yeah.
And you list, you know, I list, you know, my wife's and my, you know, so she handles my kids, and then, you know, my son.
Yeah.
You know, their social security numbers and addresses and stuff like that. So if anything happens, and they'll get a letter. Yeah. You know, all of that kind of stuff. And then I guess it just takes so much time to do all of this stuff. You know what I mean? Like as far as, but it needs to be done. Yeah. You know, it needs to be done. Yeah. And for us to do that too, we should get all of that stuff kind of as much as we can cleared up, you know? Yeah. So, and then also your grandfather on your mom's side was a jazz drummer?
Yeah. He was a beast.
Yeah.
He was a beast. He, you know, I believe a lot of these stories is just stuff I've like overheard, but I believe he played with like Lou Rawls for a small run or something.
Yeah.
He was in the jazz union, the union in San Diego. He was in the Navy, so he played in band and all that stuff. But man, when I got to sit down with him and play, like as I got like a troubled teenager, you know how like the older people in your family, you kind of want to check in and just be like, oh, you like drums, huh? You know, my dad really didn't. Well, okay, my dad tried to sit down with me and do the whole paradiddle thing and like left, right, left, left, right, left, right, right.
Yeah.
I was just like, dude, I just want to play a song.
Yeah.
You know, and then like hearing from my dad, I'm just like, oh my gosh. Yeah. It's like, it's coming from the guy who just told me to pick all my crap up, you know? Right. It's just the vibe thing. You don't want to listen. It's like, a vibe thing. Yeah.
You're like, I'm done with you.
Yeah.
That's why it's always good to get another person to help teach.
Yeah, well, my grandfather was just a very likable guy.
Oh, right on.
And he was dying of cancer, so I think he really wanted to like make an impact on my life. Mm-hmm. And so I was telling him that I was into reggae music, and like he goes, I'm gonna set up my drum set in your garage, and you got yours, and let's just kind of go back and forth on some chops. So I was like pulling out like the craziest chops that I had, you know, that I had just like learned, and I was showing him, and he was just like right on top of it, adding stuff over it.
All right.
Yeah. And then
you're a great drummer, bro.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. I think I'm a very passionate drummer.
Yeah.
Cause when I'm playing drums, I don't want to let anybody down on stage, you know? So directing breaks and stuff like that, if a break is missed, I'm pretty pissed at the band, but I gotta like, okay, just play hard and know your parts, you know.
Well, I mean, yeah, that's, you know what? It's a part of being the leader of a band, bro.
Yeah.
You know, but you also play piano.
Yeah.
And you also play guitar.
Yeah, and little bass.
And bass.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're a jack of all trades, man.
All of these instruments have levels to this stuff. You know what I mean? And I've always approached these instruments as like a useful tool for producing, you know, because I've gotten into a lot back in the day when I was like, you know, like rapping and like starting to sing a little bit. I'd work with producers that were we were pinholed into this because there was it was all keyboard stuff, you know, back in the day, like I'd say, well, back in the day, I'd say like 98, 99 when the Triton and the motifs were out, like all the producers were like quantizing really tight and like, you know, barely able to play chords, putting together chords note by note.
Yeah.
And I just felt like, dude, this is not the sound I'm trying to get, you know? I've got to figure out how to play the guitar. I've got to figure out how to play the drums.
Yeah.
I got to get an MPC, and like I want these drums to sound like Dilla, you know? Like, and then there wasn't YouTube back in the day. So it's like finding all this stuff out. I feel very accomplished because I'm seeing the new generation just be like, oh, a sus chord? Let me Google that real quick. And it's just, oh, here. But I had to like, sit there and like find the pitch and, so, for once in my life, I've been able to show myself love, and I'm proud of I'm proud of coming up in the no YouTube era, because it's like I'm a doer.
One of the things that I was fascinated by you was, and I didn't find out till later on, was when we needed to get some like visual stuff done, you jumped right into Adobe and you started ripping in there. And I was like, wow, bro, you know all of this too? Because, a lot of that stuff is like Chinese to me, like Pro Tools and production and like, old school gear, drum machines and MIDI, and all this stuff. Like I'm way in there and I'll figure out sound, but that stuff to me is like Chinese, but you dove right in. So you figured all that stuff out too. I mean,
well, that shout out to Keno McWhinney. He,
from Big Mountain.
Yeah.
Big Mountain, everybody, Ooh, Baby, I Love Your Way.
Yeah.
Okay.
He had a lot of faith in me back in the day. And when my daughter was born, I was looking for work, and he goes, I got you. I got you a position at the high school. You're going to be teaching multimedia, but you need to come to some of these advisory meetings where we're rebuilding the curriculum to be a little more modern. And I'm going to get you in there because you know about some of the modern tricks of like Pro Tools and all this stuff. And I need you to really woo them because they're looking for a position. And I went in there and I went to probably like 5 advisory meetings. We talked about how much time we should spend on MIDI, the tween animation, different things like that. And I got a position there. And they're like, okay, you're teaching Photoshop. And I was just like, oh, all right, you got to teach them Illustrator. So I was, sorry, kids, if I let you down a couple days, but I was following the curriculum to the T.
Dude, that's great.
But learning as we were learning together. But what was cool about them bringing in some new approaches to education was that we got funded a bunch of Macs.
Yeah.
Keno built like a fat studio out at Olympian High School in Eastlake.
Oh, bless his heart, man.
Yeah. And so, we had the Mexican kids. We had some of the chatty kids.
Mm-hmm.
We had, some of the talented singer kids. And we're like, what do we do with them? Well, I kind of was like, why don't we do a radio show with the gossiping girls and the boys in the back? And then why don't we have the really intuitive, smart, communicative kid do the news for Friday, and that'll be their project for the week. And then let's have the Mexican boys who like mariachi record a mariachi album, and all that really worked out, and we got a lot of kudos for that kind of stuff.
Oh man, that's great.
But I was learning along the way. So with that started, my Photoshop, Illustrator, and like experience. I was like learning with the kids.
Yeah, and like these days, you've got to have your hand in everything, And these days with Canva and all these, apps that are making it super easy for you.
Yeah,
I think I like Canva more than like Adobe, because like Adobe for some things, but as far as like Photoshop and Illustrator and all those things are a little Chinese for me. Just for me, and Canva kind of simplifies.
Well, absolutely, and there's definitely a good use in Canva, and I have just been the kind of guy that like I got to go through the growing pains to kind of get it where I want it.
Yep.
And one of the reasons why I didn't really like Fruity Loops or why I didn't like Logic, like I just want this blank canvas, and I want to create my delays. I don't want a bunch of presets.
Right.
Like I'm just so stubborn that way. Maybe a control freak, but I've learned that like Premiere is kind of like that. It's not going to be the pretty iMovie preset or you know what I mean. So
right.
I don't know.
Right.
Maybe I just hate myself and I got to do it the hard way. All the time.
I think you're right. I mean, they make it really like they start making you a little lazy.
Yeah.
Right. Because. Yeah. And I have to admit, because I came from the same school as you did. Like, I wanted to actually program the sample because I had, the Ensoniq ASR 10, and they were like, they're coming out with on the floppy disks, all the new, sounds and stuff. And I'm like, no, man, I'm gonna go sample a piano note, right? And I'm gonna, pitch it
Really?
And,
you were doing that in Sonic?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And
That's ahead of your time. That's
and then the touch and attack.
Yeah.
You can like program what note you have to have a different
the sensitivity,
volume, right?
Yeah. The dynamic option on it.
So like there's one note,
Yeah.
boom, that's another one, boom, that's another one. And so that's one note. So I mean, I did that, to certain sounds, and I had some dope stuff, and I still have my Sonic. I haven't turned it on.
Is that where you were making beats on and everything?
Yeah, that's how I started.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, it was the ASR 10. My cousin had the EP or the 16.
Yeah.
And then there was like the rack.
Did you get in the MPC at all?
Oh, without a doubt, I had
Which one
the 60.
Yeah.
Let's say I had the 60. I had there was a 62.
Yeah.
Right. And then the 3000. I have the 3000 still. And the 2000.
Yeah.
And then the 4000.
Yeah.
And then I've got the
I had a 2500. Do you remember they came out with, it was the black and red one?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I had a 2000 and a 2500, but the 2500 was pretty cool because there was some like other quantizing features that I liked a lot.
What do you think about the Akai MPC Live? Have you played with it?
Honestly, gosh, I just feel like a dinosaur when I'm trying to like use the software with the piece of hardware, right?
Yeah, we're talking about the same thing.
Yeah.
It's kind of a trip, and I was like, okay, well, you know what?
Like drag and drop sounds. I don't know.
Yeah, because what I did was I was like, you know what? It's all about the software. I like to bang the machine.
Yeah.
And work within the machine. It gives you that option to kind of work standalone.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody, we're going a little tech on you, so we'll bring in the tech nerds up in this right here.
We'll try to make it funny.
Yeah. Anyways, but then I was like, I'm gonna get a controller, and I'm gonna use this controller with, the software, because the software needs to be in there first for you to transfer over the sounds into the, They kind of make it kind of complicated in that respect,
dude,
right?
It's. I had a buddy gift me this little Akai, like I can't remember what it was. And the other day I was like, oh, my friends have this live show where they're kind of doing like banter back and forth. And I'm like, this would be cool for them to do little sound effects on.
Right.
So I'm like, hey, you guys, I got the sampler. I'm going to hook you guys up. I'm going to put a bunch of sounds on, little like boings and crowd laughing or crowd applause or like little sound effects for your guys' live show. And I plug it in, and like, I'm good with installing programs, but like, for some reason, the Akai, they didn't get the tech side of this one. And I could not get a sound onto the thing. Maybe I'm just a dinosaur. I don't know.
We'll talk about it later, because I'll tell you, I spent basically
just downloading
a full tour. And off time from stage into figuring this sucker out. And I got it figured out. So much so that just recently I had a new laptop and I got things kind of, up and running. But they just recently made it a little bit more difficult in all the sounds that you had. Yeah.
Running tracks on like Ableton and doing live stuff. Like, shout out to my buddy Ian Young. He's got that thing dialed in. But for me, I'm like, there's been a couple gigs that I've had to turn down because they're like, oh, do you have Stage Live, or I can't remember exactly what it is.
Oh yeah, Main Stage.
Main Stage.
Yeah.
Do you know how to run Main Stage? And a couple times I was like, oh yeah, I know how to do that. But when I was touring with the Wailers, I didn't want any of that, and they didn't want any of that, and that's why it was kind of perfect for me, because everything we were playing, there was no backing tracks, and that's the same for Santana, right?
Yeah, we don't have backing tracks. We play like this loop at the don't, from Maria Maria.
Yeah.
That's it, like just the beginning of it and stuff, and then it's gone. Yeah. But let's talk a little bit about that. Let's talk a little bit about the bands you've played with, and that you've been behind. How about on stage, and then songwriting and producing? Yeah.
So I in high school, me and a buddy of mine, we started, there's Tim Little, there was, Danny Dredd, there was, Mike Moniz, and I went to Bonita High at this time.
This is your band?
Yeah. This is like the beginning of when I started playing with bands.
Okay.
And, I was smoking weed kind of early. I think I was 8th grade. And I was kind of by myself, like it was almost like a little weird secret thing that I was doing in my little stealing weed from my older brother, smoking in the canyon behind the school. And then I hear like reggae music coming closer to me, and I'm like in this like bush just smoking before I go to class. And Danny Dread rolls up, and he's just like, oh, yeah, he has a boombox with him, and he's playing like Eka Mouse.
Eka Mouse.
Yeah, and I'm like, what is that? You know, I'd never heard Eka Mouse before.
Yeah.
He goes, oh, this is Eka Mouse, you know? And my aunt had put me on to Bob Marley and Steel Pulse. My uncle put me on Steel Pulse. My aunt put me on to Bob Marley, Kaya, and all the old stuff. But I recognized that the genre was reggae. Because at the time, like, reggae just sounds like backwards, you know? Or like just a weird groove, you know? It just sounds foreign compared to everything else that we know.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was really interested, and he was like, me and the buddies, you know, we jam every now and then. We're looking for like a keyboardist. And he was like, I was just like, well, you know, I don't know. I'm going to go over there. So I went over there, and they were all in high school, and I was in middle school. So I was like the younger guy. And then Tim Little just started teaching me like A minor chords, little shapes and things. And that's the band that I'm still with. And the song that I produced.
Oh, no
with
kidding.
Fragile Package is still, there's been many versions of this band, but I think me and Luis Castillo we picked up Luis a little bit later on once we started progressing. He's a year younger than me, so he was considered the younger guy, but I was always the younger guy, you know, and I wanted to bring him in. This is like in high school or maybe a little bit after high school.
Yeah.
And then we brought on horns, and then we started to get really good, you know, and there was a lot of beef in the in the band. I say
always happens.
Family because it was like family.
Always happens.
But yeah, we were all like brothers. So we broke up a million times. It had different forms of the band, but I've still been kind of, you know, I'm still using the name and keeping it alive because we gained some traction, you know. We gained some traction in the early 2000s.
I see your passion behind the band. Interestingly enough, you know, I'm from Watsonville.
Yeah.
You know, and Santa Cruz was where we used to hang out and party and stuff, and like the reggae sound was there, bro. That's where I would hear like, you know, Eka Mouse, you know, and that's what, like, I'm like, damn, who's this bang bang dude, man? You know, like,
I would show tracks to my dad because I didn't know what the skank was.
Yeah.
I didn't know, you know, it was a piano and a guitar with reverb.
Yeah.
You know. My dad goes, I don't know, mijo. I think it's a gong. You mean like a Chinese gong? He had such a paisa. That was a paisa answer.
So you're in San Diego. I'm in Santa Cruz. Both beach towns. You know, both, you know, heavy like that. And also, I was a youngster. I was a freshman with my cousin and the band that he was hanging with. You know, they were all seniors.
Yeah.
So it was kind of, for me, it was like the same thing, bro. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I you know, understand. I understand that
story.
So real quick, how about some of the artists later on that you then started, you know, to work with? Well-known artists.
So we had, I'm going to go back to Roots Covenant real quick. Roots Covenant started backing, but we were getting these calls because we were becoming a pretty noticeable roots reggae band.
Okay.
So artists from Jamaica have always been making their way through LA and San Diego, and they find bands. So there's always been these like different rotating managers or promoters, and one of the guys, Emmanuel from Organica, shout out to Manny. I think it was like the Abyssinians, and then like Sammy Dread. And Ross Charles got us in touch with Sammy Dread. And then we just started backing a ton of Jamaicans. And that was our thing. We were getting away from our original music, which was frustrating, but we were actually meeting some of these legends that just pioneered reggae music. And so we did this show at 4th and B. I remember it clearly. Keno happened to be in the crowd and wanted to meet us because he was shifting bands. Like he was modifying Big Mountain at the time, and he chose Roots Covenant to become Big Mountain.
No
for a
kidding.
while. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and I think it was for like California runs or different things like that, and so we ended up started playing with him, at the time, like our bass player wasn't really happy with doing this because we just kind of gave up.
You had to shift.
Yeah, we just shifted. But I loved it, Keno's a great guy. He was just like, he just became a really, really close friend of mine. And he had I had a lot of respect for him, and he showed mutual respect to me.
Small world. I remember him back when he was working with Aaron Zigman, who produced "Baby I Love Your Way."
Oh wow, yeah, By the way, Big Mountain is famous for "Baby I Love Your Way," and for the people that don't know, but yeah. So it started. That really, I think, took us to the next level because he was, he mentored us on like, hey, like this, come on,
Right.
We were a little more loose, and we were into a lot of dub, and his songs were a lot more just formatted, Right. And we're all used to like 4-measure loops, 8-measure loops, and he'd hit us with like 3, and then like me and Luis Castillo were like, we really admired Keno and some of the songs that he, just "Ooh Baby I Love Your Way" is just, it's a masterpiece. It's a really masterpiece. If you listen to that song,
timeless song.
Yeah, and the production on it is it's a masterpiece. But James and Keno, they made us tighter, and they took my musicianship and Luis's and everybody else who was in the group, brought us to the next level. And then other people were kind of noticing that. And then I was also playing with this other group called Stranger, which was more of a poppy reggae spin to things. And they had lost their keyboard player, and they had kind of brought me on.
Okay.
And I noticed their band was really tight, so that they helped push me vocally. David Ornelas, shout out to David. He really worked with me, harmonies. And, Luis Castillo we sat down. Man, me and Luis would hours just sitting in the car harmonizing. I used to do this thing where I would harmonize the third, but sometimes I would go into a minor chord, and he'd be like, we need to go major right there, and we need to open up, and it needs to go here. And I'm, oh yeah, you're right. But I naturally I would kind of go to this weird minor.
That's a good practice too.
It's a great practice.
Just sing. My dad does this with his students. Just sing the third. You have to think third.
Yeah.
Not just sing against the first.
Yeah.
Against one. Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Stranger kind of helped me get noticed by Beto Perez, and then Beto said Frankie was looking for a keyboard player, and Beto told Frankie, "Yeah, I got this guy."
So Beto Perez, shout out to Beto.
Yeah. Shout out to Beto. He helped get me to the next level too,
Yeah.
And,
radio DJ, but he was also supporting and managing Frankie, right?
Yeah. He's his DJ and manager.
DJ.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm this is a few years later. I think I'm 20, 25, but my dad was just so happy that I was playing with Big Mountain. Mijo, have you talked to Keno? You play with Big Mountain, huh?
Yeah.
So, and then
well, they're the top.
Yeah, and then I showed him Frankie J, and he's just like, "Wow, who was that?" Because he didn't really know about Frankie J. But one day I'm at my apartment, and my phone rings, and I'm like, "Hello?" And he goes, "Hey, is this Adrian?" And I'm just like, "Yeah, this is Adrian. Who's this?" And he's like, "It's Frankie J." And I'm like, "Yeah." And I'm Albert Einstein. I'll call you later, dude. And he starts laughing. He goes, No. Seriously, man. Beto gave me your number, and I want you to come and play with us. And I had it on speakerphone. And my lady looks over at me, and then my lady was a huge Frankie J fan. Posters on the wall.
Of course.
That was her high school, So she's just like, what the heck,
Yep.
And I didn't know Frankie lived in San Diego. I don't know why I didn't know that. I guess everybody else knew that.
I didn't catch that till later too.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
I thought he was a Houston guy.
Exactly. I thought he was from Texas. So he's like, "Hey, I'm out here in Eastlake. We're gonna practice in East." I'm like, "Eastlake? You've been in Eastlake this whole time? Where have I been?" So that was one of the, a pinnacle time in my musical career. And I ended up going through a breakup with with my lady. We just took a little break, and I went to go live with Omar Lopez, who was another pinnacle person in my next phase in
amazing bassist.
Mm-hmm. On Fragile Package that we're going to hear a little bit later, he arranged the horns and he wrote everything out. Yeah.
And great producer too.
Great producer. He can be an engineer if he wants to, but he doesn't like it. He's just like, I'll let other people do it. Yeah, I'll let you do that. Yeah, I'll let you do that. But I told him, hey man, I kind of need a place to stay. And I wasn't going through a really good time in my life. I had just gotten my second DUI. On tour, I was driving the van. That's a whole other story out in Arizona.
We all go through those those times. I mean,
it was
the
worst.
It's up to you. I'm totally open with that.
Yeah, it was the worst. I was working at a call center. Like I went from like teaching high school to getting let go to going on tours with this band, but like we were in the van sleeping on each other and like it was rough. And then I was working, and then I'm like, I got to get a job. So I'm like, I went to this call center. My buddy was like, oh, you could, I got to hook up at AT&T or like this call center. And I'm just like, I went to go work for AT&T and I couldn't sell a cell phone if my life depended on it. Yeah. All these other guys had these tricks to sell cell phones.
Oh,
and like,
man.
It took me back to when I was working at Guitar Center. And at Guitar Center, I met some pretty cool musicians as well. But I at least knew what I was talking about, like data and cell phones. I didn't know what I was talking about. So I ended up going to this call center. But long story short, Omar was already playing with the original Wailers with Al Anderson. And I don't think he knew how much reggae keyboard I had played. But one day he goes, hey, the Wailers are playing in Tijuana and they need a keyboardist. And do you think you could, maybe hold it down for one show?
This is Bob Marley and the Wailers. This is Bob Marley's band, the Wailers. That was the lead guitarist for him. Al Anderson began the original Wailers, right? And Al is a shout out to Al, amazing musician and guitar player, and was with Bob, till his
very close
passing on. Yeah.
Those are some interesting stories that he shared with me.
Yeah. I'd love to get you and Al here one day.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
they're doing a West Coast tour soon.
Let's see if we can just get him here for like 30 minutes.
Oh yeah,
that would be super awesome.
Yeah,
so like you went to Tijuana.
Yeah, so I practiced all week. Mm-hmm. Like I just had my MIDI keyboard and my headphones, and I was just like, they sent me a live recording of them playing, and so I was just playing to it,
Yeah.
And I was just, I know this, Yeah. And then I just, started singing some backups. I was hitting like the high fifth, because Al's up there on some of the thirds. Like Bob was always singing pretty high. Yeah. So Chet is singing, he's singing those parts, and they're all singing in the original key.
Chet's a bad singer. So Chet is the singer for the original Wailers.
Chet Samuel,
sings in Spanish, and boy,
shout out to Chet.
Super shout out.
Yeah, he's my boy, dude. He was so welcoming to me,
and so how long did you play with the Wailers, the original Wailers?
Yeah, well, interesting. So I practiced all week, and then Thursday came, and they're like, "Hey, dude, they're gonna use the other keyboardist. So sorry, we don't need you anymore."
Oh, okay.
And then Saturday, I think it was Friday night, dude. Beef happened again. They're not using, dude. You're back in. So I had I wanted to use that good news as like some way to kind of rekindle my relationship with my lady too. So I invited her. Job. Yeah, I'm going to be making, Well, no, I didn't know at the time that I was going to go on tour with them. But after the show, Al's looking over at me and Chet's looking over at me. And the back line was 4 keyboards. So I'm playing clav, and I know how to play stacked keys, and I know reggae to the T. I learned all the horn parts. I was using all the horn patches and the clavs and the synths and singing backups. And I was just kind of picking up, The promoter right before the show comes over to Al and goes, "Al, why'd you hire a drummer to play keys?" And Al looks at me, he goes, "You're a drummer? I thought you were a keyboard player." I'm like, dude, why would this guy throw me under the bus? Shout out to you, Cesar, for throwing me under the bus right before my first gig with the Wailers. No, I love Cesar. Cesar's a good friend of mine. But yeah, Al gets kind of cold feet, but then we start going and he's like, give me, the stink face. Like, all right, you're handling it, So then after he goes, you got your passport? And I was just like, I do. And he's like, you want to go on a 3-month tour with us next week? So dude, walking into that call center was the best feeling ever. It was like that half-baked moment where I was like, F you, you're cool. And my boss was like, you're not going to give me 2 weeks? And I'm like, bro, you have me cold calling. Like, I'm just cold calling people constantly. Like, you guys don't need me here. And it just felt so good. Like, and it was a tour with UB40 and Level 42.
Ooh.
Dude, do you remember Level 42?
Yeah, bro.
Dude.
Come on, let's get one of those. One of my favorite songs, by the way. Gosh, I'm just trying to remember. I'll remember the name of the song, the vibe of the song. But Level 42, they had some banging songs. Some of my favorite of all time.
Yeah, dude. Mark, what's his name on bass and lead vocal? Mark. See, I knew I should have remembered this kind of stuff. But going on tour with them and then this other band, Raging Fire, it was just like the best experience.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe that I was in England. Like, I never thought that I would get out of the United States. Like, I toured through the United States and we went to Hawaii once, but this just changed my life completely.
And interesting, because we're talking about Al Anderson and some of our mutual, musician friends, artist friends. You're on a boat cruise with Al. And
you and I had just cut that song.
We just
with Frankie.
Still Here Together.
Still
Everyone
Here
check
Together.
That out.
Yeah, go check that out. Frankie J, Andy Vargas. We're still here together.
And then you're on a boat. I was talking to George Lopez, and we're talking about starting this Malas Palabras Records and stuff. And I think he just he came up with the name, and he goes, yeah, what do you think about this name? Like, Malas Palabras. He goes, yeah, it just sounds like really, really cool, huh? And he's on the way to the cruise.
Yes. No manches way.
Yes. And then, you guys, see each other on the cruise, right?
Oh, dude, I got to tell you that story.
Okay, tell me.
I got to tell you that story. First of all, I'll tell you 2 stories about some really interesting interactions with big stars for me. This is one of them.
Okay.
I didn't know that George was going to be on this cruise.
Yeah.
And we're loading, and I see the big banner, and it's like George Lopez. There was some yacht rock band and us.
Mm-hmm.
Long story short, it's our night to play. Omar goes, hey, dude, George Lopez is on the thing. Did you see the banner? I'm like, no way. We're going to spend a week on this thing with George Lopez? So his first night that he was performing in one of the halls, Omar's like, hey, let's go. So we go, and he's testing out his material for his Netflix special. Not this last one, but the one before.
Yeah.
And me and him were dying. And I just was sitting there. I could not believe how close I was to George, and I couldn't believe how funny he was.
Yeah.
And I always watched the show, and I thought the show was just great.
I can never hold my breath when I'm around him, bro. He makes me crack up so hard.
So then I think it was after the show we played in another hall area, and we're playing, and I'm kind of thinking in my head, dude, I wonder if George is somewhere in this crowd or
Yeah.
And then Chet's from Puerto Rico, and his family's from Jamaica to St. Kitts, I believe.
Yeah.
And San Juan. So he speaks fluent Spanish. But, you wouldn't think that. He looks, African-American, Jamaican. You don't always put that together that, Afro-Latinos speak Spanish. I'm coming from San Diego, you don't have too many African-American or Afro-Cuban, or, you see that more on the East Coast. You don't see that so much on the West Coast.
Oh, the West Coast, we didn't see that, yeah.
And so, he's like, on the claves, Adrian Cisneros. And then I hear George, or I start doing my solo, and then I hear, and then he's just like, there's Latinos in the Whalers. He waited until there was this quiet over the crowd before the applause. And there's Latinos in the Wailers. And then everybody looks up and, you know, me and Omar are like, dude, that's George Lopez right there watching us, you know? So we were stoked. And then Omar's last name is Lopez as well.
Yeah.
So he's a shredder on solos on the bass, and he just rips a mean solo. And Lopez in the Wailers, and he's yelling from up top. And then we go and meet him. And then he's like, you know, I'm starting this record label with a guy named Andy Vargas. Do you know who that is? And I'm like, what's the odds that it was like 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago I just met you and we did a track together?
Yeah, man.
He's like, no way.
Yeah.
You know, and dude, George was hilarious.
Yeah.
Like you said, we were just dying laughing the whole time.
Yeah, man.
And and I told him about you, and then he goes, all right, let me give you my phone number. And his manager tries to come in and go, all right, take down this number. And George goes, get out of the way. I'm giving him my real number, you know? Yeah. So one day I was having coffee, and I had left a message for George, and he looked at my phone and it says George Lopez. And I was just like, wow. Yeah, and I'm sitting with my buddy, and he goes, is that George Lopez calling you? And I just hit speakerphone and, hey, Adrian, you know, we're talking. And my friend was just like, at that moment, I just kind of felt like, all right, embrace this new phase in your life and go knock some shit out with Andy.
Hey, bro. Yeah, and we've done, everybody please go check out Malas Palabras Records YouTube and see all the amazing things that we've done musically and visually, and just, you know, all the stuff that the music that we've collaborated on and managed, you know, for Malas Palabras. And this is just the beginning. Malas Palabras Records on Instagram as well. This is just the beginning. We've got a full year of amazing content, collaborations. We've got, I'm going to speak a little on Malas Palabras, use this opportunity. Shout out to Eber in Mexico, and Daniel down, you know, for Así Suena down in San Diego. Eber is an amazing artist. And we were able to do a song with Eber and Baby Lores, you know, Amigos del Barrio, shot down in San Diego. The song is fire. We had over 1 million views. Yeah. And AK shot the video.
Yeah, me and, Anthony Munoz was taking lead on that one. There's some funny stuff behind that too. I had shot that with a Canon 80D. And Anthony was like, bro, we need to shoot this in 4K.
Okay.
So he came up with a clever way of taking my 1080p footage and projecting it onto the lowrider.
Yeah.
So we
that
instead
was the
of
most amazing thing.
I thought it was cool. I thought it was just like super dope.
I love that about the video.
I'm just like spraying smoke in front of the lowrider, and it's hopping, and we've got the shots on the hood, and he brought a projector, and
that's an iconic video.
Yeah,
it really, really is. When I saw it, I was like, wow, we get to put this out on Malas Palabras.
Yeah.
Like, you know, for the full, you know, first Spanish song on, you know, Malas Palabras, killing, bro.
Yeah. But that was another phase in my career too. Anthony Munoz really inspired me to be creative like that, you know. And his editing skills are great. And check out AG Munoz on Instagram. Go check out all his stuff. He's doing cool stuff. I want to keep him as involved and close to us as possible because he's such a great artist.
We also have to talk about our boy Chris Morris.
Yeah, dude. Oh,
you know, amazing artist and you know, creative.
Yeah.
You know, hands, and you know, he's got amazing keys and vocalists, right? We've got
he's incredible. He's not just incredible as a musician, but he's a great friend. Mm-hmm. You know, he's somebody I could talk to,
bro.
Just like you.
Yeah.
Like, and there's not many of you guys like out there that you can just really feel good about your conversations. And, you know, we could vent about our lives and different things like that, but we always come away with something productive. And he's always got good advice for me. I feel like likewise. And we've just been good friends ever since we had lost our keyboard player, because in Roots Covenant, I'm the drummer and lead vocalist. But when I heard that he could sing the way he can sing, I was just like, bro, come on, part of the band. Let's. Reggae wasn't his thing, and he just adapted really well. He's an incredible reggae keyboardist now.
We put out a song called Contagious of his.
Contagious, yeah.
Yeah, you check that out.
Yeah.
Malas Palabras, Spotify, or
That was a fun project because I got to direct that one.
That was a great video.
And I got to follow some of my old passions. I used to break dance. And it was pretty, it wasn't just like one of these things like, oh, I could do a backspin.
That's why you have Air Maxes all the time.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So I got to choreograph these two dancers for Contagious, and that was really fun.
Yeah.
I never thought that I would be like showing dancers how to, it's just I love dancing. Dancing is like a very, one of my passions that.
You're an artist, bro.
Yeah. That project, allowed me to, we got into this big theater. We got to shoot that in a big theater.
Yeah, it's a great video.
Yeah, go check it out. Chris Morris, Contagious on Malas Palabras Records. Shout out to you, Chris Morris, for being a great artist and a great friend.
Yeah, man. That's what we have is love, family, and I think for Malas Palabras Records, we're going to really open up to the public and be receiving demos and stuff really soon. But we really wanted to build the brand.
Yeah.
And work on projects that we were very passionate to work on, right?
Yeah.
And that took time, because we would not want to not give the artist, the attention that they deserve.
Yeah.
Me being an artist, my concept was I want to be the guy that I want in my career, knowing the way the music business was changing. Mm-hmm. Right. And it's changing every day. Right. So you need someone that's on it, that's a hustler, that has passion, that has your best interest at heart, that knows about, the business and that's really watching out, for all areas, of things and can see in the future a little bit too.
Yeah.
With whatever the scenarios are. Right.
Yeah.
So like, for example, the project that we did with Gato Babalu.
Yeah.
Right. And, he's an amazing conga player. He has these ideas for these songs. We have this, this great space to do his project in.
Yeah.
And we have everything ready for him. We're working on these different marketing plans and ideas. Mm-hmm. And then we create the NPR Jukebox series, right?
Yeah.
Because the songs are like the oldies kind of a vibe.
Legacy kind of tracks and
yes, and then
vibe.
Also we had the concept with the videos too to kind of flip those.
Yeah.
Another artist, Chris Perez, the
yeah.
He was our first artist on Malas Palabras Records, the famous Chris Perez, bro. I mean, like he's an amazing guitar player and person and artist, and musician, and he had this great song that with him singing, and his manager, John Gomez, good guy, also knows George and everything, and so we put this together, right? And this song by Chris Perez, was super, super happening, bro. Mm-hmm. And he's singing it, sound amazing, and we all get together on it, and they shoot an amazing video, right? Yeah. They shoot an amazing video. George loves the video, and we get to put it out on our on our record. So thank you, Chris. Shouts out to you and the family and John Gomez and everyone out there, in Texas. And we love you so much, man. It's such, respect and heart in the things that you're doing right now with Louis the singer. He's doing he's the supporting band and songwriting, with him and Bobo and all these guys are supporting Louis the singer, doing some
Frankie's
great
out there doing stuff with him too.
Frankie J's out there, in Houston now killing it, and we got a lot of it. The good thing is we have in our family so many amazing artists and people, human beings that we know have our back. You know what I'm saying? And that we have theirs.
Absolutely.
And that circle, that tight knitted circle is really hard to find. But we keep our, those guys close. And I think George knows that. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. George knew that. With our school of people that we just have to keep on doing, keep on grinding. We're not going to stop. We're going to keep on going, keep Malas Palabras, flowing. We got some upcoming.
You know who we got to sit down too with is Sonny Sandoval from POD.
Oh my Lord.
Yeah, Sonny.
We had him on the show. You know him.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Here.
Yeah. Yes.
Oh, I hadn't seen that episode.
Yeah, him and Mike. Yeah. You know.
Yeah, Mike. Yeah,
South
that's
Bay
right.
Mike.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were on, and we had just a great talk because they were talking about their show Off Point.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. I did some graphics for them recently for Mike.
For Mike, yeah.
For Off Point.
For Off Point, the show. So, you know, we talked about that. And, you know, I mentioned, you know, you and our song that we had, you know, with Sonny.
Yeah.
But that, and I told George about that too, about the song and about, you know,
some of the ideas.
Working on Sonny's project, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, he's ready. I just laid some bass down for a song that he just had. And I've been playing quite a bit of bass on his
cool.
upcoming reggae album.
Oh, okay. Cool.
But yeah.
You know who else has an amazing project? Marcos Cruel.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Marcos. Yeah, the guitar player for POD.
Guriel.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So, yeah, he's got, you know,
solo project
that he's, you know, working on right now that we talked about. You know, we've got something really exciting that we're working on right now for Malas Palabras, you know, and that's, you know, the upcoming Malas Palabras app. So everyone,
let's do it.
You know, get ready for that. That's going to come out, and we've got some projects that are going to, you know, help lead that. So I put that out there. That be ready for that. You're going to see that. It's going to be super fire.
Yeah, I was blessed enough to play a couple times with POD, filling in for Luis Castillo on keys, and man, just being up there and like, you know, because
that's a show, bro. POD.
Yeah, it's a show.
I love to watch POD.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
The energy is insane.
Just all the hooks, like the
hooks,
the big massive choruses, like we are the youth of the nation.
You know, when I heard POD,
boom,
I was like, I felt like just proud to be alive at the time, to like even
US
be
was going
somewhat
through
connected to these guys, because these guys, you know, like we dress the same, like, you know, we have the same, like, we go out and we rock it, we rock it on stage, and then we rock it after stage at the in the clubs, at the bars, whatever we do, we give it 100%, you know, and. Shoot, I got my first piece, you know, from South Bay Mike, and you know, and Sonny goes, "That's your birthday present right there, Holmes," you know.
Nice.
And blessed all their hearts, but I love the whole band. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, me too. Those guys, oh my gosh, those guys have always been so kind and respectful to me, and you know, those guys would come around and be like, "AK's the man," and I'm just like, "What? Me? You guys?"
Yeah, man.
It's just this mutual respect that I love with all of the family members that we got in this music.
Out on a boat cruise, and Wub was out there, bro, and we saw each other, and we're like held each other for like 5 minutes, bro, you know, because we have so much you know, history going back when you see someone, you go back to a certain time, like, you know, because they, you know, love Carlos, you know, and they had a song on, you know, called America on the you know, Carlos's record, and you know, we performed it for the Grammys. You know, I think it was for the you know, American or Latin Grammys. I was trying to remember which one, but we performed it for the Grammys, and
Wub's always been like a big bro to me.
Yeah,
he always he's had me under his wing for a while, and he's shown me a lot. And I just remember one time we had a family member pass away. And he goes, "What happened?" You know, I got off the phone and I was like, "I think my lady's going to fly out to Texas right now. A family member passed away unexpectedly." And he goes, "Hold on." He goes into his room, hands me a stack of cash. "Fly your lady out to Mexico or to Texas."
Yeah, bro.
And I was just like, "Are you serious?" Because I was strapped at the time, you know?
Yeah, man.
Let's not talk about it, bro. Here, don't talk about it.
Yeah.
You don't owe me any money. Take this. Get your lady to fly out there. He's just always taking care of me like a big bro, you know?
Yeah. That's love.
But
That's love, man.
But yeah, Sonny, Marcos, all those guys, Trey, you know, Luis.
Shout out to POD.
Yeah, shout out to POD. Yeah, you guys they all have big hearts, and they're all just great company.
Yeah, bro.
You know?
Well,
Sonny just had a book release.
Oh my gosh.
Son of Southtown. Go check
please
that out.
check that out.
Yeah, we played for we Roots Covenant opened up an acoustic set at this bar called Three Punks Ale, and then POD did like an acoustic set.
All right.
And it just felt so good because everybody in Chula Vista was there, and just like, everybody singing, and it was cool. One of those family functions, we got to do more of that. I want to see you down in our hood and doing stuff like that, and let's get all the guys together and do it. We did it once.
We do have to do that. We're actually a lot closer now.
Yeah.
So I'm grateful to be touring.
Yeah.
With Carlos and the band again now. Upcoming. We've got a great opportunity to perform. For the Grammy Hall of Fame Gala.
How did you get to playing with Carlos? I guess I don't know that full story.
Well, I mean, in a nutshell, I was signed to RCA BMG, and I was out recording and writing songs with, all of the songwriters for the different publishing companies.
Yeah.
And so I went through that, world for many years, so I was writing with all of the hit songwriters or the upcoming ones that later on had big, huge, massive hits, right?
Yeah.
I was recording songs by Diane Warren. That's how I got to meet Aaron Zigman, who was the producer. He produced a majority of my record for RCA.
Yeah.
And, things, didn't, fully happen at the time. And so for me to get out of that, album, I had to leave my masters behind, to get out of that deal. And we had some, really, man, we made... I was working.
So those masters are just sitting somewhere right now.
Yeah. I was working with Ron Fair, the amazing Ron Fair, man, and we had our version of Supernatural there, man. Totally. But at the time, because things politically were happening in my music, it happens to artists, bro. This happens to artists.
It's heartbreaking.
All the time. I promise you, there'll probably be artists that'll be talking about this. Hey, that happened to me. That happened to me. Where things just happen because there's so many different people involved, politics, money, egos, and things that, that it takes so much to then have all of your music produced, artists developed, everything to then have, the money come in to push out this album.
Man. I have a lot of problems with these huge establishments taking advantage of artists like us. And it doesn't just happen in the music world. Like recently, there's a family member who passed away, and there was talk that the surgeon, wasn't all prepared, right? And then you lose the life of somebody, you know what I mean? But there's these laws that you just can't go up against. You can't go up against, a big hospital. They will run you dry with lawyers, and the music industry is the same way. And they'll just be like, "That's mine."
Okay, so
that's mine, player. What are you gonna do about it?
That's why I feel that we do what we do, right?
Yeah.
We use our experience and we do the best that we can for ourselves, for each other, and for the artists that we work with. We give them the best opportunity. That's why if we're not prepared to take, on, dozens and dozens of artists, we're not going to do that and then leave you to AI to control your emails and to answer you that way like these big distributors do.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
We'll tailor and work with you with whatever it is you need, and those are the kind of companies that we work with because they give us the TLC, right? So it's all about tender love and care right here.
Well, one of the main reasons why I am a part of Malas Palabras with you is because of the way you guys are talking about doing, masters. Keep your masters. Just let us run some stuff for 2 years and then you get it back,
Yeah.
Hey, what do you want to do as an artist? You don't hear that.
Let's get to the next level. Let's get to the next place.
Yeah. And then,
and then do something else, there. We don't need to get locked in like crazy,
Well,
and
if half of these artists knew, any artist that's out there watching this or whatever, you've got to come and see the facility that you have for shooting videos.
Yeah.
Amazing facility in Irvine.
Irvine, yeah.
In Irvine.
Tustin. It's like right on the borderline right there, yeah.
We went in there and it was just, we shot a bunch of stuff for you and Gato, and it was amazing. It was an amazing experience. And, we didn't take 4 days to shoot the video, and they all came out great. But if some of these artists knew that people like you and people like me had their best intentions, to me, it's like, it's hard to understand when a lot of artists want to do things on their own. And just like raising kids, you want to raise a good artist, it takes a village.
Well, this is why we have the Andy Vargas Foundation.
Yeah.
And how we've shifted our foundation and our songwriting camp and our business, amplified, artist, group, because it's happened to us, and I want the kids out there, those that we can work with and have the opportunity to work with.
Yeah.
We want to share this information. We want to show them, how to, from the business of the music business to the songwriting to everything that we can, give them all the information possible, and then also give them a scholarship opportunity to continue their education after high school.
Yeah.
But everything that we're talking about, that's what we do. But that's why I wanted to do this, was because if I would have had, not just on, like our record label side of things and helping artists, then obviously we're going to work with artists that are further along, that are ready for that, for us to uplift them, not have to, do all of the legwork, right?
Yeah.
So for high school kids, let's show you that business. So then when you're ready to go, you could probably do this all on your own.
Yeah.
We'll show them how to do it all on their own, or
get them in a place to where they can work with us properly and efficiently.
Exactly. Exactly.
This is stuff that I'm always telling my daughter. So shout out to my daughter, Adrian Cisneros. She just got accepted to the SDS CPA School of Performing Arts for high school. And she's just like super stoked. And James McWhinney from Big Mountain just told me yesterday that he went there. My buddy Art Mitchell told me that his daughter Salem went there, and she's like a model for Gap and Target. And
congratulations.
Yeah, so I'm telling
Mina.
Ellie, I'm like, Ellie, they all went to that school. And she was nervous. We went to the school the other day to like drop off the paperwork because she officially got accepted.
Amazing.
The experience of shooting my daughter's audition, like I was just trying to hold back tears the entire time. She's singing Billie Eilish's Wildflower.
I think I remember when you were doing this.
Yeah. And I played piano, and she's a great singer. She's got a lot of potential. She the other day blew me out of the water. I was just like, we're sitting there, and there's James McWhinney right there.
Wow.
Hey, James from Big Mountain, you're on the podcast right now. Say hello.
Hello.
I'm right here with Andy Vargas from Santana.
Oh,
James, how you doing, man?
Amazing.
Hey, James, we're gonna do this podcast. I've been talking about you a lot, by the way.
That's why
all
we had
good
to
things.
Of course we do.
I'm sorry, brother. Say that again. I lost you.
Oh, I'm on a podcast right now, but I'm speaking highly of you in this podcast.
Oh, give thanks, man. Give thanks.
All good things. But
we're also blessed to have a brother like you spreading the vibes.
Oh, you're too kind. Thank you, brother. Thank you. Well, hey, I'm gonna get back to this, but I'll call you later. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I'm flying out tonight. I was just wondering if I could park the car and then you can maybe get me over there.
Yeah. No worries. Okay. I'll holler at you later about that.
Bless up to all the people.
Yes, sir. All right. Talk to you later. Bye.
How amazing is that, huh?
I think he's going to Mexico again.
Oh,
so
no,
he
man.
always drops his car off at my house, and I give him a ride to CBX to the border.
That's what's up, man. That's cool.
I looked over right now. I was like, man, I've
Yeah.
been talking about his ears are ringing. I got this track called Fragile Package.
Yeah, man. Let's hear it.
My friends have been kind of clowning me for the name, though.
I was gonna say.
Should I change it? I still have time. But anyways, a little quick excerpt.
Maybe like Fragile Heart.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah. Honestly,
Fragile Emotions.
Well, okay. I started writing songs because I was watching oh my gosh, I'm drawing a blank. Your Body's a Wonderland, the guitarist.
John Mayer?
John Mayer.
Yeah.
I saw this interview of John Mayer, and he goes, all right, when I'm writing, in my head, I always have this massive idea, and I'm going to write the biggest song, right? And then he goes, but I find myself writing the best songs when I focus on something really small, like a coffee cup, or like, well, the coffee cup represents like, he didn't exactly like say this. I kind of interpreted it that way because.
Thank God we don't have George here because he'd be cracking up some jokes here right now, bro.
But I mean, I love the idea of like, you write a love song about a coffee cup, and then it's about those moments that you shared with your loved one out on the porch.
Yeah, for sure.
And
we practice that.
But the song's called Coffee Cup,
Yeah, we practice that in our song camp.
So, Fragile Package was one of those moments where I received a package, and it said Fragile on it, and then I was thinking about the how sensitive a relationship can be, and how you have to handle it with care, and just kind of all the words around it.
I dig it. I don't think you should change it. No, seriously, because like it'll stir up a conversation.
Yeah,
like Fragile Package. It's
yeah, but
not
of
just
course,
like a name. That's,
of course, all my dude friends are like,
of course,
package.
Yeah, of course. Right. Yeah, you're gonna have to.
Yeah. What's the name of the song? You know what I mean? And then reach over and try to hit me in my private part. Oh, Fragile Package. Oh, hey.
All right, now I can't wait to hear it. All right.
I'm not doing well with promoting myself right now.
It's all good, man.
There we go. 1, 2, 3.
Super loud, right?
It's blaring. Well, I guess we're going to do a little commentary through this.
Yeah, well, you know what I love is I love how you know the reggae thing so well.
Oh, well, thank you.
And musically, like chord-wise, and like, the pocket for you for reggae is insane.
I like I said before, Roots Covenant went through the Jamaican the school of the yard, it's called the catch. You got to have that pocket. They call it
catch. You know all the slang.
Yeah, but it's the tug and pull between the drums and the bass. The bass but drums.
You're singing lead?
I'm singing lead, yeah. Little inspiration drawn from UK reggae. It's a blend of R&B, UK style mixing, and Jamaican reggae,
I love the chords, man. I love the horns.
Yeah, shout out to Omar Lopez for arranging the horns on this.
Yeah, man.
Shout out to the incredible guitar licks from Ja Oil. Big up Gary. And Chris just laid all these beautiful synth stuff over, and great chord choices, and Luis playing rhythm, and you got James McWhinney doing backup vocals. He did all the "Ooh Baby I Love Your Way" backup vocals, and he came in and just huge. James gets in the studio and just knocks out harmonies. Freddie Gonzalez on trumpet, Marco Paul on sax. We recorded this in my living room. We have a tall ceiling, so I pulled the mics back a little bit so we get the big room sound.
Oh, you could hear it. It sounds good.
Are you a plug-in geek or outboard gear geek?
Yeah.
I was experimenting with some reverbs on this one. I kind of
Lexicon?
It wasn't the Lexicon, but it was the Abbey Road's plate.
Yep.
I love that one.
Yep, I know that one.
Yeah, using that on vocals with like a slap delay. We recorded all this at my house. Yeah.
Really good.
Actually, I got an SSL.
You did.
Shout out to Robert Delgado. What's up?
Are you using it?
On this one, yeah.
All right.
The drums are going through it.
Oh, the drums are nice. Are all the channels working?
Yeah.
No kidding.
All the channels work. But I have I have a nice like stereo pair that I use for piano because I got a grand piano at my house now. Once again, dude, all of my friends has gifted me so many cool things to make my house like the hub. Like the SSL was a gift to me. The ASW 900. It's got the G channel on it. And the kick is just smacking on this.
You know, shout out to everyone, you know, over there with, you know, Solid State, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, SSL, man.
Oh my gosh.
Such a good piece of equipment. But shout out to Lewitt. I think the sax, I got the 940 LTC 940 on the sax.
Don't let me forget you. I kept on reaching out to you.
Yeah.
You know, so don't let me forget on that one.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
Today.
Well,
concerning Lewitt.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I mean, you know, my lady is gonna kill me if I buy any more equipment.
We are gear heads.
Yeah.
Gear heads.
You guys.
Okay.
Give us all your gear. We will
collect them.
We will collect them and we will use them. And then we will But that was that's the new news.
Congratulations,
single
man.
coming out.
So we got to talk about what your plans are with that.
Well,
man.
I want to shoot it at your spot. Let's drop it on my last.
Bro.
I would be honored.
Don't even.
I would be honored.
You know what amazing. You know we have what a blessing here. We have this opportunity, this conversation to show to the public for everyone to know the story, your story, Roots Covenant story, which I really didn't know. Yeah, I didn't know that history. It would be an honor, man, to continue the legacy, and put an opportunity to pull and draw from all and everyone's different stories that involved in Roots Covenant, let alone the song. Yeah, and it's such a feel good song. It would be. Yeah. It's a feel good song, man. Yeah. And I know that there's a lot of opportunity given that it's an original to get that out and get to certain places, bro. Well,
Ja Oil, our guitarist, he said something really funny. And he goes, because there's this like stigma between reggae artists, like you have like the really hardcore biblical Jamaican Rastas, right? That are very serious about Rastafari and Selassie and everything is, burn Babylon and all this stuff, right? And he cracked me up because he was just like, man, in my 20s and 30s, everything was burn Babylon, but now I just want lovers rock. I just want to be a lover boy, man. And he goes, that's why he's like, I love where Roots Covenant's
That's what the world needs right now. That's why we have to do it. Well, the world needs this love, bro. Come on.
Absolutely.
In a time like right now, just absolutely. And it's not even of where the world is at politically. It's just the time of where the world is at in the level of hate, the level of anger, the level of of killing and murder. It's like, where is the love? Why
don't even get me into
why can't we promote love? Mm-hmm. Let's promote giving. Let's promote thinking of others first. Let's promote like letting go of your desire to need and want because you're so fearful. You're thinking that everything's going to be gone tomorrow. Yeah. It's going to end tomorrow. You're so fearful. So you need to covet. Yeah. Oh, let go and love, man. That's why I am so grateful and I love the fact that, Carlos, has this message and he always has. That's beautiful. Look at all the colors.
There's people who are big stars that use love as like this smokescreen, right? Their music isn't really that positive, It could be some of these pop artists that's like trying to misinterpret sex for love, right? Yeah. And confusing young girls. Yeah. Right? There's a lot of female artists out there. I'm not going to say any names, but there's also male artists out there that like, yeah, this is all love, and they go into interviews and they use love as like who they are, but then their music isn't.
I think there's a lack of real mentors, bro.
Oh yeah, man.
You know,
well,
because
hey, shout out to you, bro. You've been a great mentor to me.
Hey, brother, thank you, man.
You've been a huge mentor to me.
And it's, you know what it is? It's action.
Yeah.
Right? It's follow the action. Don't follow what I'm saying, follow what I'm doing.
Well, dude, you didn't have to spend the time you did with me. We were complete strangers when you were spending a lot of time on the phone with me and in person with me, helping me get out of a rut, bro.
Well, you know,
that's
I'll
never forget that.
You have to give it to keep it, man. You know, and like and there's no one that can help another like someone who's been through it.
Yeah.
And because I've been there, bro, right there with you where you've been.
Yeah.
I've been there.
Yeah.
And I don't know, because I wasn't there with you. Obviously, I can't say deeper or less or whatever, but I know that I've been there.
Yeah.
And I know what it takes. And you know, it does take the inner all I did was just kind of like knock on your head a little bit, and you listened because I was there before. Yeah. And I talked like someone that was there before.
Yeah.
I didn't talk like
speaking from experience.
I wasn't speaking at you. I was speaking with you.
Yeah.
You know, and you yourself, your inner desire.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It just hits me right there, bro.
Yeah. Yeah, man.
Your desire did it, bro.
Yeah.
Not me. And then you opened up for God to work in you, bro. You opened up.
Yeah.
That's what we do, is we shut ourselves.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Our like mortal self shuts ourselves to God.
Yeah.
To work in us, to then work through us.
Yeah.
And that's all it was God working through me to then touch you, for then you to start being there for others, bro, which you have been there for others, bro.
You know,
that's what I just saw, all of that, and that hit me so hard right now, man. It just hit me in the chest.
Yeah, brother. I mean, some people don't understand that a little bit of like attention and kindness, and I'm not like, you know, pro male, but dude, us guys need to be there for other guys, especially like, man, other men that are going through divorces and just getting rocked, and then getting their kids kind of swayed to not like them anymore, or like I've been seeing this a lot, you know.
Yeah.
Other guys struggling with alcohol, other guys struggling with addiction.
Yeah. Like,
dude, the party isn't like, as we get older, you know, you're kind of like, hey, bro, do you want to just like go hang out? We don't have to drink.
Yeah, bro.
Do you want to go get a coffee? Yeah. Like, tell me what's going on, you know?
Yeah, bro.
But yeah, being, you know, obviously being there for our sisters as well is very important, you know, but there's this bond that men need to continue to have with each other, and through music and through art and all this stuff, let's keep promoting each other. And that's what Malas Palabras is, you know, and that's we honestly, I can't wait for us to get into this next phase, welcoming new artists, female, male, like let's work together. Let's get some cool shit done.
Yes, and we will do it, man. We will do it. AK Adrian Cisneros, it's been a blessing and an honor to have you, here in this room and in front of our audience here. This is gonna fly, man. This is gonna go, and people are gonna hear this and hear your story and be inspired, and be introduced to you and your and Roots Covenant, and you know, and to all of those we've collaborated with, who are listening and stuff, to know how much we care for them, man. You know. Yeah. I'm just so grateful, brother, for you to come and stop by.
Likewise, brother. It's an honor to be here, man. And I'm here with the living legend, Andy Vargas, man.
Thank you so very much.
We're moving together. We're moving together.
That's right.
Yeah. Shout out to everybody that we talked about today, though. Seriously,
lots of love.
This podcast is about our progress and our story and our life, and all the, you know, there's more people that, you know, I wish I could have mentioned, you know, but music in our lives. They mean a lot, and there's a huge story and purpose to all of this.
Yes.
And it's heartfelt, you know?
Yes. Well, everyone wants to follow you, bro, so tell them where they could pick up your stuff.
Okay. I'll tell you guys, but I'll have to kill you. No, I'm just kidding. Come follow us at AK Cisneros on Instagram. Follow us at Malas Palabras Records. Follow us at Chromatic Media. And follow Roots Covenant at Roots Covenant. Instagram and YouTube links right there. Bam.
You'll be able to get all of these links and descriptions here at the podcast below. But again, brother, I love you.
Love you too, brother. Thanks for having me.
Let's make some more magic.
Much love to everybody out there.
Peace.